line by line explanation and analysis of the poem Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Lines 1 to 5. The text reads like this. It little profits that an idle king by this still hearth among these barren crags, matched with an aged wife, I meet and dole unequal laws unto a savage race, that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. The poem's opening lines vividly introduce the speaker, Ulysses, the king of Ithaca, and establish that he isn't too happy with his situation. To enlighten you about Ulysses, his another name is Odysseus. Odysseus was a character in the poem by the same title, Odysseus, by Homer, in which he is describing the Trojan War, and Odysseus was the commander-in-chief. Ulysses and Odysseus are the same. To continue, these lines also make it clear that the poem is a dramatic monologue, a speech uttered by a particular character in a particular context, similar to a monologue delivered by a character in a play. Ulysses' name isn't actually mentioned in the poem. Instead, the poem's title indicates who the poem is about. Ulysses, the protagonist, with his Greek name of Odysseus, of Homer's ancient Greek epic, the Odyssey. The Odyssey is one of the most well-known works of world literature, and so Tennyson would have expected his readers to be familiar with Ulysses or Odysseus and his story. In Homer's tale, Odysseus spends 10 years fighting in the Trojan War and 10 years in adventures at sea, struggling to return to his island home of Ithaca and to his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus. Odysseus' driving motivation throughout the Odyssey is to get home. So readers might be surprised by the opening lines of Tennyson's poem, which describe how unhappy Ulysses is with life on Ithaca. Ithaca is a small island state in Greece. Ithaca is not a beloved homeland. It is merely barren crags. Penelope is not the woman he fought for years to return to. She is simply an aged wife. The strong contrast Tennyson draws between the reader's prior idea of Ulysses and this new image presented in the poem is one of his strategies for engaging the reader's curiosity and interest. If Ulysses spent years traveling the world attempting to reach home, why has his home left him so unhappy? The opening lines start to present an answer to that question. Ulysses seems to be unhappy with the idea of growing old. He does not directly call himself old, almost as if he cannot stand to admit it, but he calls his wife aged. And if he is matched with her, then he must be aged as well. He also complains that he is idle and that he is struck by a still hearth. The hearth is the fireplace in a house or in a home. He is frustrated because he does not feel he is doing satisfying work and because he is trapped in one place. This dissatisfaction comes partly because Ulysses feels little connection to the people he rules. He describes them in terms that are often applied to animals or beasts. They are savages who do nothing but sleep and eat and hoard goods, like animals, storing up food for hibernation. Worst of all, they know not Ulysses. That is, they do not understand the kind of man he is. He has travelled the world while they have only ever seen the barren crags of Ithaca. He is also dissatisfied because while his people are content to live and die on this island, Ulysses cannot stand being still. Still here can mean as not working, being idle, wasting his time in a way. The diction, which means the choice and use of words and phrases in speech or writing, of the opening lines creates an audible sense of Ulysses' frustration. There are many harsh and cacophonous consonants. Cacophonous means noisy consonants that could be voiced almost as one was spitting them out. The T sound in little, prophets, matched, meet and not. The P in prophets and sleep. The K in king, and to a certain extent the D sound at the end of hoard and feed. These opening lines suggest that deep down Ulysses does not feel his true identity consists in being king of Ithaca. Ulysses does not say, to quote, "Sit idly by the still hearth." He says, "An idle king by this still hearth," almost as if the king were a person other than himself. He distances himself from the role. But when he speaks of how little his people understand him, he uses an emphatic first person pronoun, "and know not me," from the text. His true identity lies in this side of him that his people, and perhaps even his wife, do not see or understand. The part of him that cannot stand being still. The poem's meter serves to emphasize Ulysses' strong emotions. The poem is written in unrhymed iambic pentameter, which means blank verse. Means the last word of each line do not have the same sound. That is known as blank verse. This is the meter used by probably the most famous epic poem in English, John Milton's Paradise Lost. So it is a fitting meter for a poem about the hero of one of the greatest epic poems in Greek, that is the Odyssey, written by Homer. There are frequent irregularities in the meter, however, that serve to enhance the meaning of particular lines. For instance, line 2 could be scanned by this still hearth among these barren crags. There is an irregular stress on still, creating a spondee. The spondee slows readers down, forcing them to linger longer on the phrase "by this still hearth," almost reproducing the feeling of being still. There is another spondee at the end of line 5, that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. The wholly irregular meter in the first 3 feet creates an impression of a regular repetitive pattern, just as the people of Ithaca fall into a repetitive pattern of doing nothing but hoarding and sleeping and eating. The spondee, coming at the end of the first sentence in the poem, breaks the pattern, just as Ulysses wishes to break the pattern of daily life on Ithaca. It also gives a strong emphasis to the idea that Ulysses feels misunderstood by his people, as if he cannot be his true self among them. Ending the line, and the sentence on the word me indicates that an important theme of the poem will be Ulysses' exploration of his true nature and his true identity. Lines 6 to 11. The text reads, I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. All times I have enjoyed greatly, have suffered greatly, both with those that loved me and alone on shore, and when through scudding drifts the rainy hades vexed the dim sea. The explanation is, as the poem continues, the reader better understands why Ulysses is so discontent with life on Ithaca. He is frustrated at being trapped by a still hearth because he declares, I cannot rest from travel. This again may come as a surprise to the reader familiar with Homer's story. Odysseus spent 10 years traveling to return to his family. But now it seems his heart is with his memories of traveling rather than his family. He declares that, in spite of having suffered greatly on his travels, he also enjoyed greatly the entire experience at all times. Whether on land or at sea, whether with his crewmates or on his own, he found joy in his wanderings. Now that he has reached what was apparently the goal of his wanderings, that is, to return home, he finds he wants to travel again. A restless soul indeed is Ulysses, unable to settle in one place. He does not find great meaning or satisfaction in his life on Ithaca as king. As he said in line 1, little profits him, but he believes he can find meaning in his life again if he sets back out to sea. He says, I will drink life to the lees, meaning that he will seek out every bit of excitement and significance that life has to offer. The fact that he says this just after he declares, I cannot rest from travel, suggests that a meaningful life can only be found in travel. The structure of the lines reinforces the emotions they describe. Lines 1, 2, 4 and 5 above were end-stopped lines, reinforcing Ulysses' sense that his life has come to a halt. In this section, each of lines 6 to 10 are enjambed. In other words, enjambed means that the line continues into the next line. Whatever the thought expressed, it is continuing into the next line, thus creating a sense of more continuous motion, just as Ulysses describes how he would like to be in motion once more. At the same time, the lines also use casuras to create meaningful pauses to emphasize key words and ideas. Dear students, I would like to tell you that all the technical terms that are being used here, like casuras and enjambment and spondy, etc., I will give you the notes about these later on. To continue, there is a pause, for instance, after travel. The word that first explains where Ulysses' desire lies. There is also a caesura after each use of the word greatly in line 8. Greatly, have suffered greatly, but both with those. These pauses, along with the repetition of the word and the irregular stress on the line's first syllable, that is the first sound of the first word of each line, give significant weight to the idea of greatness. Not only the idea that Ulysses found a great deal of pleasure even in great suffering, but that Ulysses is a man used to doing things on a grand scale. He is used to a life filled with dangerous and heroic deeds, actions beyond what other men could do. Compared with this past history, his sedentary life on Ithaca seems even more frustrating and meaningless. The mention of travels, both with those that loved me and alone, suggests an emotional connection between Ulysses and his sailors that seems even stronger than the emotional connection he now has with his wife and, the reader will soon learn, with his son. This connection to his crewmates will be confirmed later on in the poem. We will continue with lines 11 onwards in the next session. Thank you.